Selamat datang di konten podcast Cindy.
Oke, hai, welcome to konten podcast Cindy. By the way, ini adalah video podcast pertama gue. Karena biasanya KFC bisa didengarnya di Spotify atau Anchor. Dan teman ngobrol gue hari ini, tada, Aston Utan. Yang belum tahu, Aston Utan ini co-founder dari Common Grounds Coffee and Roastery. Lu tuh pengen dikenal sebagai apa sih, Ton? Ada yang gitu nggak sih kayak specifically kayak lu tuh pengen dikenal sebagai apa gitu?
I don't know. Gue lebih fokus di apa ya? Coffee professional, I guess. Menurut gue gitu. I don't know. Gitu.
By the way, congratulations ya.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Bentar lagi jadi
Desember, yes.
Desember. Sekarang udah berapa bulan berarti?
5 months.
Oke.
Quarantine baby.
Gimana namanya? Covida.
Jangan dong. Ko David ya.
Cowok.
Not sure yet. We will know soon.
Gimana? Lo punya hobi baru nggak sih selama pandemi? Atau lo punya
Definitely
hobi
nggak sepedaan. Definitely nggak apa tuh tanaman.
Nggak.
So no, I like sneakers. I collect sneakers, ya kan? That's one of my hobbies. And then coffee. I think so far that's it sih buat gua.
Kenapa lo suka sneakers? Lo kalau mutusin beli sneakers tuh lebih kayak karena lo suka brandnya kah? Atau karena limitednya kah? Atau apa? Atau lo beli aja impulsif gitu? Kalau gua soalnya impulsif aja.
I can tell. Gue sih emang dari dulu dari kecil emang suka sneakers gitu. Karena dulu gue waktu SMP gue main basket. Jadi dari sana kan udah ngikutin NBA, ngikutin Michael Jordan, ngikutin Jordan, Kobe, Shaq. Jadi I grew up with basketball and sneakers is always a big part of basketball culture.
Berarti lo nggak jual beliin? Nggak lo jualin kalau lo udah punya?
Kadang-kadang iya.
Kalau cewek kan soalnya gitu kan,
Yeah.
punya tas bentar aja kayak season ini, abis itu gue udah nggak pakai deh gitu.
Kalau gue bosen gue jual.
Koleksi lo udah berapa sekarang? 100?
No, nggak sampai. Maybe 20 to 30 maybe. Gue udah banyak kurangin sih.
Lo nggak beli itu yang Jordan Dior? Why?
Didn't get the raffle.
Oh, sebenarnya lo nyari gitu kan?
Nyari ya.
Okay.
Tapi oke.
Tapi lo tipe orang yang akan beli nggak dengan sekarang kan udah harganya tuh udah kayak 250 juta gitu kan?
Crazy.
Enggak, lo nggak beli?
I can't. It's just like lo akan ever bakal beli Leva 3 grup nggak? Yeah, exactly.
Iya sih, nggak kepake gitu. Oke. By the way, gue tuh kemarin gue tuh mencoba mencari tahu tentang lo gitu kan. Kalau gue nge-googling nama lo, Aston Utan, itu tuh ada Aston Utan Louis Vuitton.
Oh,
Tell me about that.
Itu nyokap gue yang bawa gitu. Jadi bisa dibilang tuh dia salah satu pendiri brand LV di Indonesia. Jadi her life's work when she was very young at 24, 25. Sebelumnya dia pernah own a boutique and pegang other brands. Cuman dia yang start LV di Indo. Dan ini juga LV sebelum bener-bener jadi LV yang super popular ya. Karena dulu core produknya LV itu emang koper. Bukan tas, bukan sepatu, bukan baju, bukan parfum or whatever. Itu bener-bener fokus di koper. No wheels, right? Gue masih inget zaman dulu waktu traveling kan obviously all the bags are LV, right? Cuman none of them had wheels gitu. Itu bener-bener yang masih kita angkat-angkat terus gitu, ya kan? Yang bener-bener even the hard case dulu ya nyokap gue punya yang bener-bener keras gitu, briefcase shell gitu. I don't know honestly why people I understand why people would associate me with the brand. Cuman I have nothing to do with the brand.
Tapi kan oke, nggak apa-apa dong.
Well, nggak apa-apa sih, cuman misleading aja sih.
Misleading, makanya kan gue nanya ya nggak sih?
Karena biasanya habis itu mereka nanya, ada bisa minta diskon nggak? Gitu
Enggak.
ya kan? Biasanya gitu.
Masa mau beli Louis Vuitton nggak
Bisanya
diskon?
gitu, biasanya gitu.
Oke, clear guys. Jadi kan kalau soalnya kayak Aston tuh bosnya Louis Vuitton.
No. Unfortunately, no. I just own coffee now. Apa tuh?
Stone Utan itu baru mengerti street food itu karena lo nikah pacaran sama Stella. Bener nggak?
That's not true. Not many people know that gue sebelum had my own coffee business and worked with my dad, gue sempet dulu kerja di Unilever for about 3 or 4 years kan. And gue punya background di Unilever tuh marketing. Nah, lu masuk sebagai anak marketing di management trainee program or MT program. Itu lu selama setahun lu harus masuk ke divisi sales.
Divisi sales.
Ya, jadi intinya lu brand, lu marketing gitu. Misalnya kayak gua di Smith, kayak gue Randy nih gitu, gue kerjain marketing nih, packaging dan lain-lainnya kan. Cuman kalau gue belum pernah di medan tempur atau di bar atau apa untuk menjual beansnya, ya gue kan gimana gue bisa bikin produk tanpa gue tahu ini jualnya di mana dan harganya berapa, customer gue tuh kayak gimana, ya kan, distribusinya gimana. Jadi for this 6 months I was on a motorcycle every day visiting 40 to 60 stores or toko or warung to sell my products. And of course, ya lu if you do that every day, ya lu makan di mana? Pasti makan di warteg, man.
Makan warteg, guys. Soalnya gini Ton, gue percaya karena waktu itu gue pernah sama Yoshi, dia nggak tahu cara makan pempek. Jadi menurut gue ada sedikit kemungkinan gitu kayak
Yoshi never worked at Unilever.
Sumpah, gue pernah ajak dia makan pempek dan dia nanya gimana cara makannya. Gue bilang, gila, lu makan apaan di rumah? Ya karena kayak pempek juga kan nggak yang selalu street food juga kan. Tapi lu dari berempat itu usaha pertama lo Pandava.
Dan jadi awal-awal itu bertiga. Jadi belum ada Philip. Jadi gua, Yoshi, Yanto, itu Pandava, the first ones gitu. When we decided that we didn't want to continue with Pandava and make a new brand, itu baru kita ajak
Philip. Apa sih menurut lo kesalahan yang waktu itu lo lakukan di Pandava?
Oh, banyak banget.
Apa bagi dong?
Banget. Jadi definitely kita tuh awal-awalnya juga, let's be honest, we didn't know what we were doing. Ya kan? Kayak
masih meraba-raba lah ya.
Iya, karena industrinya at that time kan was very young.
2000 berapa? 2012.
2011 deh kira-kira.
2011,
ya. Itu masih baru banget, especially belum ada many specialty coffee players. Kita sih liatnya ke Starbucks gitu ya. Starbucks lagi rame, lagi buka toko terus, kayaknya something we could do gitu. Apalagi emang family background bisnis Yanto itu emang di kopi kan. Jadi kita merasa kayak Yanto bisa ambil alih di section ini, gue bisa di sini, Yoshi bisa di sini. Mungkin kita bisa bikin tim yang lumayan bagus lah gitu ya kan. Jadi dari awal sebenarnya kita juga nggak aiming di specialty coffee.
Tapi to be honest, waktu gue lebih kenal specialty coffee itu di Pandava sih. Maksudnya waktu itu tuh mulai tahu kan yang namanya filter coffee. Terus itu kan ada, gue dateng lah, pokoknya beberapa orang menyarankan ke situ karena kan belum terlalu banyak pilihan. Pas kesana tuh seru banget gitu, si siapa namanya, Teguh ya? Teguh yang nge-brewing di depan lo, itu kayak interesting banget sampai akhirnya si Randy tuh mulai suka dan beli manual brewing tuh setelah dari situ.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Honestly, even with all that shit, like we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't have any idea what we were doing. Cuma kita masih trying to figure out what is the best. Pokoknya ada apa yang interesting, ya udah kita beli, kita coba, kita pakai. You know what I mean? Gitu. Atau ini even at that time, making espresso recipes, making milk based, making menu items tuh masih banyak trial and error gitu. Karena ya back then lo mau lihat ke siapa?
Iya sih. Dan tempatnya pun lo punya atau emang lo kenapa ada di epicentrum gitu?
Nah, at that time di epicentrum juga number one is not a lot of landlords yang in the mall, and because at that time mall kan lagi skyrocketing kan, masih everybody went to the mall. None of them didn't really want to give us a chance. Karena kita brand baru.
Iya.
Ya kan kita brand baru, siapa lu,
gitu.
konsep lu apa
Iya.
gitu, lu kira-kira brand lu apa dan lain-lainnya kan masih bener-bener gak jelas gitu. Nah kebetulan at that time ada salah satu teman kita, kakaknya tuh kerja di mall management Epicentrum.
Berapa tahun sih waktu itu Pandava? 2 tahun?
About 3.
Oh 3,
Yeah.
oke. Habis itu langsung ganti, switch ke Common Ground.
Not really. Jadi the first 2 years we're sort of learning and benar-benar trial and error, trying to figure out apa sih yang we're doing right or doing wrong, ya kan, as well as learning about coffee at the same time. Karena awalnya kita benar-benar juga blind lah ya gitu. We knew we wanted this type of cappuccino, these types of menu, but we didn't know, what was really the specialty coffee standard of doing something gitu. It wasn't until about the beginning of year 3 we realized kayak karena our lease atau kita punya masa sewa cuma 3 tahun gitu. Jadi di awal tahun ketiga kayak kita akhir tahun ini kita mau perpanjang nggak gitu, karena kalau perpanjang ya kita harus mulai mikir gitu. Tapi ya habis kita lihat semua buku-buku kayaknya kita bakal anjlok nih gitu, kayak kita mau continue lagi kita harus masukin duit lagi gitu, which is it wasn't good enough basically. The cafe was okay but wasn't good enough. Basically kita juga we didn't make our money back.
Yeah.
And kalau kita mau lanjutin artinya kita harus masukin duit lagi.
Terus alasan khusus lo kalau misalkan lo ngebawa si Saint Ali sama Sensory Lab tuh apa sih? Gue dari dulu tuh pengen nanya tapi kan pernah ada momen buat kayak gini gitu ya. Gue selalu penasaran sih, instead
Banyak
of lo mengembangkan, kenapa lo nggak, mungkin kan lo invest lumayan lah ya. Mungkin lo bisa buka 3 toko lagi, 4 toko baru dengan nama Common Ground. Kenapa pada saat itu, waktu itu umur Common Ground kayak baru 2 tahun ya? Iya nggak sih?
Yes.
Baru 2 tahun gitu, masih muda, terus lo langsung bawa brand gede gitu, which is lo punya tanggung jawab yang cukup besar. Itu kenapa sih?
That's a good story. Jadi at that time kita sempat dikenalin dari Henry ke Ross, ya kan? Karena fellow judges, ya kan? Kenalin ke Ross. Henry juga pernah suggest kayak Saint Ali berapa tahun terakhir tuh pernah pop up lo in different places around the world gitu. Siapa tahu mungkin mereka mau pop up di Jakarta gitu. Terus at that time gue juga ngomong ya why not gitu, let's talk. Kalau bisa kenalin gue ke Ross ya kita bisa mulai ngomong. And dia kenalin, gue tanya, ngobrol sama Ross, gue tanya Saint Ali open nggak gitu. Terus Ross ngomong sama bosnya Salvatore, right, which is my partner. Nah baru kita diajak kenalan. Jadi gua sama Yanto kenalan sama Sal, and that time Matt too. And baru dari sana gua dari dulu sampai sekarang my relationship with Salvatore is very good. Apa ya? Ya tipe orang yang ngeklik aja. And of course kita ngobrol soal pop up-nya, kita kenalan, terus ya udah pop up aja, let's pop up gitu. Jadi 6 bulan sampai 7 bulan setelah Melbourne itu kita ada yang pop up di Jakarta yang ada di
waktu ada
Matt, Ben, bla 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 bla. And as you know, pop up-nya agak intense, right? Maksudnya it was a big success and kita pun nggak nyangka sampai segitunya gitu. Karena again gua, Yoshi, Yanto, Phil sekolah di Amerika kan, jadi kita juga bingung kok banyak orang, banyak banget orang.
Segitu taunya kalau se-impact itu mereka waktu ada di sini gitu.
Bener. Jadi kayak kita nggak tahu tuh brand Saint Ali sebenarnya kuat di sini. Karena emang kita nggak jarang ke Australia, kita juga di kopi juga lumayan baru. Kenal Matt juga cuman dari bacaan sama bla bla bla. Cuman of course we know who he is, right? And kita bener-bener nggak ngeh gitu. Kita kira let's do it. Kita kira yang bakal datang anak kopi semua ya kan, orang kopi, which is true. Cuman what was the biggest surprise is actually most of the people that came, maybe 70-80%, were not coffee people. They were people who used to go to school in Melbourne.
Iya, karena banyak banget sih.
Nah itu yang kita nggak tahu sebenarnya. Kita nggak, karena kita sekolah di Amrik, kita nggak pernah sekolah. Jadi anak-anak yang biasanya yang sekolah di Amrik sama anak yang sekolah di Aussie itu nggak main. Karena emang ya kita different country gitu. Mungkin ada yang kenalan sini sana tapi nggak main, beda, circle-nya beda. So the first day gue walk into the pop-up, gue kayak surprise gitu, kayak gila kok ada queue gitu sampai keluar kan, what the fuck is going on, right? Gitu. I thought it's only gonna be coffee people kan, ya pasti banyak yang ambil kelas dan lain-lainnya gitu. Hari ketiga si Salvatore kasih tahu si Lachlan, who's his right hand, gue mau datang gitu.
Jadi mereka pun happy dengan antusias.
Yes,
di
exactly.
Sini. Okay.
Dan gue pun kayak wah shit gitu ya kan. And he flew in literally for only like 1 or 2 days to see.
I see.
He came in and we were doing a latte art throwdown, and the outlet was crazy busy, right? It was like crazy packed. And dia lihat sendiri with his own eyes gitu, kayak ini kayak lumayan gila juga ya. Nah sebenarnya he was there to meet with somebody too gitu in Jakarta. Cuman karena we have a good relationship and he saw what was happening and we were also excited. Dia nawarin gitu, lu mau nggak?
Jadi sebenarnya malah dia nawarin. Karena pertama kali lo membawa dia itu sebenarnya cuma pop up aja.
Emang pop up doang.
Oke. Di Jakarta itu adalah Saint Ali pertama di luar Australia.
Yes. Dia dulu sempat buka di London actually.
Oh gitu.
Yeah, we're not the first.
I see.
Dia cuman
that works.
Yes. So now it's Workshop Coffee. You've heard of Workshop Coffee before? Yeah. So they have a few outlets kan.
Dengan lo mendatangkan si Saint Ali ini justru ngebantu si Common Ground ini growth gitu ya. Makanya abis itu lo nggak lama langsung buka banyak juga ya? Iya nggak sih?
Yes. Cuman that's not a direct impact dari partnership with Saint Ali. But the partnership with Saint Ali itu lebih ke internal kita, knowledge driven.
Bisa dibilang lo spend money buat belajar nih.
Yes.
Ya kan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is those things kadang-kadang priceless.
Iya sih.
Kadang-kadang very priceless. Jadi the time you spend to do trial and error on something, which is a lot of time yang we spent doing in Pandava, sama Saint Ali, like, kayak intinya kayak lo harus ambil ujian gitu ya kan. Tapi this time gue beli aja the answers sama somebody.
Iya. Benar juga sih.
I mean it's kind of like cheating,
Yeah.
right? But that's what happens.
Tapi sebuah keharusan nggak sih buat bawa sensory lab juga? Itu beda kan sebenarnya, di sana pun beda kan?
Yes.
Apakah itu akhirnya jadi ketika lo udah ngelihat impactnya Saint Ali bagus, terus habis itu lo coba bawa sensory lab, atau itu udah emang di dalam perjanjian emang harus satu kesatuan gitu?
At that time sih dia offer.
Okay.
Dia offer, dia bilang ini kan gua ada 2 brand gitu. Lu mau yang ini atau yang ini gitu. And atau dua-duanya gitu. And at that time we thought, might as well dua-duanya deh gitu. Anyways, kita mau build a good relationship. Cuman obviously as you know, brandnya Saint Ali sama Sensory Lab tuh beda gitu ya kan. Saint Ali karena udah lama ya, udah lebih dari 10 tahun ya pasti lebih established gitu. While Sensory Lab tuh it's like maybe 5 years old gitu. And very much like Starbucks takeaway coffee type of business. While Saint Ali tuh bener-bener kitchen and everything tuh complete banget gitu. So obviously they've ya pasti
di sana nggak ada kitchen ya kan?
Nggak ada
kan? Coffee only kan?
Yes. Jadi yang sensory sama yang JG tuh agak head to head a bit gitu. So we haven't figured out a way to how do we make it look different. And obviously people don't know the brand as well as they know Saint Ali.
Kalau lo harus merekomendasikan dari sisi customer, lo lebih suruh orang datang ke Common Ground, Saint Ali, apa Sensory Lab? Bukan karena lo yang punya ya, Common Ground gitu bukan, tapi kayak kalau lo harus merekomendasikan salah satu dari 3 yang lo punya itu, lo akan suruh dia kemana dan kenapa?
That's a good question. Sebenarnya tergantung dari customernya sendiri. Kayak kalau Kalau Saint Ali itu kita benar-benar coba bikin seautentik mungkin seperti Saint Ali di Melbourne.
Yeah.
Sebenarnya emang Saint Ali itu bisa dibilang lebih cocok buat lidah orang expat.
Oke.
Ya kan, karena emang dia nggak terlalu manis atau nggak terlalu ya I'm talking about the food ya, manis atau dia nggak terlalu asin atau asam, dia tuh lebih ingredient focus. While Common Grounds sama Sensor Lab kita bikin menunya agak mirip, which is lebih kayak classic menus yang emang lebih cocok ke lidah orang kita. Coffee wise it should be pretty much the same. Menurut gue not much difference.
Cuman kalau misalkan mau yang lebih fit ke lidah Indonesia ya lo ke Common Ground gitu ya.
Ya.
Ini sebenarnya nggak dijawab sih.
Tergantung
Nggak
orang.
coba quick lo lebih ke gue.
Tergantung lu lagi pengen apa. Gua nggak ada.
Amat lo.
Kalau gue gini, oke, let's say gue sama makanan CG udah bosen, ya kan?
Okay.
Karena menurut gue ya menunya gitu-gitu aja, gitu. Karena emang orang yang datang ke sana tuh maunya gitu-gitu aja, gitu. Same menu favorites, ya mereka datang ke sana. Our top selling food di sana tuh kayak almost never change lah, ya kan? Menu kita juga nggak banyak berubah. Tapi kalau lu emang bener-bener mau makanan dan menu yang beda, yang bener-bener banyak menu items kita di Ali itu dibikin dari scratch, ya lu ke Ali. Menurut gua makanan di sana tuh lebih inovatif.
Oh, I see.
Ngerti nggak? Kalau if you're looking for coffee, either or sama aja.
Sama.
But if you're looking for makanan yang emang beda, ya aneh atau bener-bener chefnya di sana emang lebih kreatif, ya ke Ali. Kalau lu mau yang lebih comfort, ya lu ke CG. That's my take. Gitu. It's up to you, lu pengen makan yang mana ya kan?
Satu pertanyaan lagi tentang kopi-kopian. Sistem leadership seperti apa yang lo terapkan di dalam bisnis lo?
Ya, gue merasa belakangan ini, at least the last year, gue tuh lebih kayak guru, tau gak?
Apa?
Guru,
oke.
Ya profesor, you know, whatever the fuck, dosen gitu, daripada bos. Gue harus bener-bener mengajar konsep manajemen ya, atau basic things yang menurut gue tuh mereka seharusnya dengan either mereka udah lama kerja sama gue atau mereka udah sekolah harus aja logika ini atau apa. Mereka tuh kita harus kadang-kadang spoon feed. You know, when I mean by spoon feed is like you're a fucking baby, right? I gotta feed this shit to you gitu, like you don't know it. Nah itu yang menurut gue tuh bikin gue sering frustasi lately, karena menurut gue ya kualitas dari SDM kita at least ya dari sisi logika itu tuh masih kurang banget,
asli,
ya kan? Dan menurut gue tuh lu kadang-kadang nggak usah S1, S2 juga seharusnya lu udah lihat ini sebagai hal-hal item-item ini seperti logika gitu, kayak you know, hello, this makes sense gitu, or you know, lu pakai otak nggak sih, ya kan? Gitu.
Gue penasaran sih kenapa ya menurut lo ya, karena maksud
Why are
gue
people stupid?
anak-anaknya nggak benar. Nggak, tapi gue juga bingung gitu, karena gue kan termasuk angkatan 90-an ya. Ya yang sekarang anak-anak gue tuh mostly ya 95 ke atas gitu ya. Cuman gue nggak ngerti kenapa, padahal kan kalau dari zaman sekarang makin berkembang, lo makin bisa menemukan apapun di internet dan sebagainya gitu. Tapi gue ngeliat mentalnya mereka tuh kenapa ya jadi robot. Dan gue banyak banget nge-cut orang karena itu. Gue marah banget kayak, kenapa sih lo mau jadi robot gitu? Padahal ya kalau gue mungkin cuma memikirkan keuntungan gue pribadi, ya gue sih oke-oke aja tuh, dia mau aja ngelakuin yang gue suruh. Cuman kayak kenapa dia nggak menjalankan logiknya, terus kayak lebih kreatif, inovatif gitu. Menurut gue sih jarang lah. Perbandingan tuh kayak 2:10 kali.
Yes, mungkin 1/10 ya menurut gue.
Lebih jahat. Ya lo karyawan lo lebih banyak, mungkin lebih valid. Iya, tapi kenapa ya? Menurut lo kenapa sih?
Menurut gue tuh, gue juga kadang-kadang tuh nggak tahu kenapa gitu, nggak tahu kenapa, dan yes mereka ada banyak alasan, pastilah, ya. Pasti nomor satu salary-nya nggak cukup, whatever, right? I mean, before you get into this industry, maybe you should research how much his average salary is first, right? Because so you don't get surprised. Because in this industry, we don't pay much. But it's not because we don't want to. It's just because our industry is very young. Not everybody drinks coffee either, right? Like very little people drink coffee like more than 2 or 3 glasses a day. In Australia, the average person drinks 3 cups a day.
Yeah.
Average. I'll be lucky if I have a lot of customers who come in every day drink 1 coffee. Ya kan? Ada sih, cuman ya masih terlalu dikit.
Yeah.
Ya kan? Regular lu seharusnya tuh in Australia kayak their regulars, they come to the same coffee shop maybe 2 or 3 times a day. One in the morning, one during lunch or after lunch, and one in the afternoon. 3 cups of coffee, one person, one day, every day for the whole year. Right? That's a lot. Right? For us, it's like, a regular customer is somebody who comes once a week. It's not a regular customer.
Yeah.
It's different. Jadi obviously we cannot pay that much. Karena menurut gue our revenues dibanding di Australia itu kayak masih jauh. Right? I mean, that's why I get knowledge from Sal. I call him. It's like, how much do you do this week? What is it? And kita masih jauh banget. And this is us, right? Gitu. Masih jauh.
Yeah.
Maksud gue people always think kayak all the employers are like kayak Belanda gitu,
Yeah.
Fuck, man, It's not like we're selling oil, right, Sin? We're fucking selling water and coffee. Like it's difficult. And menurut gue if benar-benar lo mau masuk in this industry lo harus ada research juga gitu. Lo sebenarnya lo masuk di industri ini ekspektasi lo apa, ya kan? Jangan like we often talk about before. Jangan lihat ke idola kopi. That's a huge misconception.
Yeah.
You and I get this problem all the time, right? Yeah, like kita pasti nanya, lu ngapain lu mau di industri kopi jadi siapa atau ngapain? Or di 5 tahun ke depan mau jadi kayak Aga, mau jadi kayak Miki, mau jadi kayak Yoshi.
Atau kayak ngapain ngelamar di CG, di Smith, mau ikut kompetisi gitu. Itu lu jawaban lo apa tuh? Lo anak yang lu interview jawabnya kayak gitu.
Gue sih bilang, oh yeah, you'll have a chance, but you have to work for us for 1 year first. And then you have to go through internal competition.
Tapi jadi kesulitan gak sih kan buat lo kan banyak banget ya menerbitkan berbagai bintang kopi gitu, champion kopi. Terus kan abis lo udah mengikutkan mereka nih di kompetisi, terus mereka udah dapat posisi dan sebagainya gitu, kan akhirnya mereka jadi sering dipanggil di mana, which is kayak mereka, gue nggak tahu ya sistemnya apakah mereka tuh izin atau apa gitu. Menurut lo keberatan gak sih? Apa lo sudah menyiapkan gitu? Karena kan kalau misalkan kayak gue cuma paling 1-2, paling 1 lah. Kalaupun dia tiba-tiba jadi bintang gitu ya. Kalau lo kan kayak masif gitu.
Bintang.
Maksud gue kayak lo masif gitu. Kayak lo dalam satu angkatan tiba-tiba ada Ovi, ada Evelyn, ada Robby gitu kan, semuanya terkenal lah di komunitas.
Belum pernah menang kayaknya.
Iya, tapi kan dia udah sering banget dipanggil-panggil di mana-mana gitu kan. Ngerti enggak maksud gue? Itu jadi kendala nggak sih buat lo?
Enggak.
Lo nggak apa-apa mereka?
Yeah, because we get commission.
Oke.
Yeah.
Jadi kalau mereka ngambil kerjaan di luar tuh
We get commission. That's part of our contract.
Oh. Tapi mereka ambil pas jam kerja enggak?
Biasanya sih kita enggak.
PH gitu ya? PH
Yeah, your
atau
off
cuti,
day or
off
whatever.
day.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even do PH.
Cengli lah. Oh, lo nggak ada PH?
Because we do 5 days of work, 2 days holiday.
I see.
Yeah, we don't do 6 and 1.
Oke. Gue sekarang punya pertanyaan random buat lo. Nah ini gue catat nih. Aston Utan, ketakutan terbesar lo apa?
Tarantula.
Gue sebenarnya expect kayak apa gitu.
Have you seen motherfuckers?
Oke.
Lo pernah nonton nggak dulu ada film horor
Iya,
satu
gue.
yang laba-laba gitu, yang tarantula yang bisa gitu. Gue waktu kecil nonton itu di rumah temen gue bisa tidur anjing.
Gak, gue
Sampai
gue
sekarang
takut
pun,
miskin
ya.
gitu loh. Gue expect lu jawab kayak gitu kan.
Enggak tuh gampang. Gue pernah jualan di pasar, man. Don't worry, I can sell anything gitu. Fucking flying tarantulas, nah I can't deal with that shit.
Kan bisa lo injek, Ton.
This one is huge, man. It's this big.
Tapi kan gak
Did you see the movie? It can catch a bird and like kill it gitu, and then bisa beranak gitu terus jadi banyak. Kayak, oh dude, fuck that. They're using fucking spider nest.
Iya.
Oh fuck. Kayak they had to kill it with like a crossbow yang flaming, baru kayak on fire. Oh I can't deal with that, man. Dude.
Kalau lo ngelihat diri lo 10 tahun ke depan, lo kayak gimana? Lo bakal jadi apa? 10 tahun ke depan?
I'm still doing the same shit. I think. Coffee.
Serius?
I don't know if I'm still common grounds or managing shops or marketing or I don't know in what capacity. Either I'm assuming still common grounds, but even if it isn't with my own personal shop, maybe I'll be the second home Jason. Who knows? Right?
Bener juga sih.
Right?
Boleh.
I don't know, right? So I don't know, but I mean, I think definitely still in coffee. I love coffee. I love the product. I love the ideals in which we stand for. Menurut gue, our job, whether it's a barista, a business owner, a coffee professional, we have a very honorable job menurut gue. Karena our job sebenarnya, if you look bener-bener ngikutin dari awal dari message-nya, it's always going back to the farm. We are a small player in this, ya kan? Cuman we have a role to play.
Lu pernah ke kebun ya sih? Gue kayaknya gak pernah liat lo ke kebun ya.
Yes.
Pernah ya?
Yes. A long time ago though. Not when I was really into coffee yet.
Oh,
Just kind
malah
of
pas
random.
awal-awal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kind of random. And menurut gue, it wasn't a good picture yet. Gitu. Tapi menurut gue, I've met a lot of different farmers, right? Whether it's like the very poor, very innovative, from here, from Latin America, rich farmers I've met as well, right? High-end ones. Jadi, menurut gue, comparing our farmers and farmers of yang udah at the very well-known estates of coffee, ya kan tuh kayak mereka punya social economic standing tuh beda banget, ya kan gitu, beda banget gitu, kayak hampir langit dan bumi gitu. Dan menurut gue kalau misalnya one day our farmers bisa at least tengahnya dari ini gitu, I think we've done our job well, right? But a lot of that, it is also very important karena we're a coffee producing country. Let's not forget that is very important, ya kan? Coffee producing country means that we don't stand just for our own brand or our own industry in the retail, tapi also in terms of the farm level. Dan menurut gue, it'll help our overall country if we help our overall industry. Ya kan, exporting kayak, whether it's exporting or whether it's kita lebih banyak konsumsi kopi secara locally, all of those things basically will help down to the farm level. And I'm not expecting change to happen overnight. Cuman we are thinking about this, ya kan? Supposed to be every specialty coffee company that's in for the right reasons is thinking about this. Either priority 1 atau priority 10, tapi ada di list. Ngerti nggak lo? Karena secara direct atau indirect kita ada kontribusi ke our own national coffee production.
Berarti lo sekarang tuh usahanya cuma kopi aja ya? Apa lo punya usaha lain selain kopi?
No, just coffee.
Oh, sih.
Gue masih suka bantu bokap, tapi most of my time is definitely in coffee.
Oh, okay.
Tapi menurut gue tuh, gue nggak ada. Emang gue beruntung in the fact that for me it's not life and death, ya kan. Cuman it is a choice for me then. How much time and effort yang gue mau spend in this business and this industry. Ya kan? Karena I have many choices. Gue bisa do A, B, or C.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough to say, I want to do A because I'm passionate about this industry. I'm passionate about the values. I'm passionate about the people. I'm passionate about the product. Yeah, I'm gonna spend all of my time and some of my money and a lot of my education to invest into a brand that hopefully can grow and help the coffee industry business gitu. That itu tuh my motivation gitu. So my motivation is not based on survival or based on how much money I can make. It's just based on, you know, what is the best way I can build a brand that can contribute some way somehow to the coffee industry as a whole in our country. Our true enemy is not each other. Our true enemy is the second wave. Gitu, right? Like, what real benefits does Starbucks or Coffee Bean or whoever have here? Yeah, kan?
Yeah.
Karena at the end of the day, and because I used to work at Unilever, which is not an Indonesian company, it's an Anglo-Dutch company, right? Head office is in London. At the end of the day, they make a lot of money, right? Because they sell products, they get profitable products, they create a lot of jobs, which is great for our local country. But at the end of the day, a big portion of mereka punya profits is repatriated, which means it's sent back, exported to head office, right? And we're talking about like big money, like huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we have Saint Ali, yes, we send profits back, but it's like it's minuscule compared to these guys. And we're talking about a macro view, not a micro view. Jadi secara macro, yes, Starbucks creates a lot of jobs, right, and creates a lot of value, and they keep opening stores, which is good for the economy, but a lot of the profits are repatriated.
Tapi menurut gue sih udah lumayan sih, udah lebih growing lah. Ya lo bisa lihat sekarang Starbucks bahkan kayak udah jual coffee brown sugar yang waktu Tuku lagi terkenal banget kan dia ngikutin, terus habis itu jual harga 20.000 gitu. Ya menurut gue itu salah satu kayak dia sudah mulai merasa terancam dengan industri lokal, ya sih? Oh
iya, di Amerika juga sama. Kayak di Amerika tuh, they see specialty growing, right? Udah buka apa tuh the reserve. And if you ever been to a reserve, it's ridiculous, man. It is the amount of millions of dollars they put in one of those stores. It's like crazy. We have to have a strong sense of responsibility on how we're gonna develop their future. Because they're, you know, if those type of people that are working for you yang benar-benar cuma part time or cuma nyoba-nyoba gitu, emang those people they're not, you don't have to worry about them, you don't have to care about them. But it's people who spend their life, you know, with your mission and your brand and your people and part of your culture. Yeah, those are the people you have to take care of and look like ke depan their future tuh bakal kayak gimana. You know, I was talking to Gaban too, like, you know, our industry, especially the last few years, specialty yang menurut gue itu growth-nya nggak sekencang the first like 2015 sampai 17 atau 18 ya. We've seen a stagnation ya menurut gue. Kayak orangnya gitu-gitu aja, nothing much has changed.
Iya kenapa ya? Orangnya gitu aja ya?
Ya kan?
Iya sih.
Karena awal-awal ya waktu puncaknya I was talking about Yoshi sama Aga lagi compete di 2015 atau 17 sampai 15 lah. Kayak every year kan you and I and everybody kan pasti ikut ramein IBC dan lain-lainnya kan. Ice.
Iya belum lah.
Enggak, maksud gue we're there.
Gue waktu itu ada nama lo soalnya, terus lo nggak ada.
Oh bukan kompetisi, maksud gue ya kita kan ada ya kan supporting. Dan kita cheerleader, gue lah. Jadi mulai dari tahun itu sampai tahun 2017 ya gue lihat tuh ya of course kita di floor gitu. Enggak, malah 2014 sampai 2017 tuh setiap tahun makin rame. Dan makin ada muka-muka yang baru. Gue nggak ngomong kompetisi ya, Cin. Gue ngomong kayak yang datang ke fair kita. Ya kan kayak wah banyak orang rame, new faces, kayak orang excited to know the industry, orang excited to involve, orang excited to look for a new job, orang excited to open a new cafe, banyak gitu. Tapi gue lihat ya belakangan dari 2018 sampai sekarang, setiap kali kita ada kompetisi ya sama-sama gitu aja orang-orangnya. Nggak ada muka-muka baru, jarang lah, dikit gitu.
Yang datang juga sama gitu aja.
Yang
gitu.
kompetisi, ya oke, kompetisi juga yang sama gitu aja.
Sama.
Tapi in addition kayak yang datang, yang bener-bener entusiasnya gue juga energinya beda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kayak nggak like you can feel energy in the air. Like when your cafe is busy and when it's not, you can feel the energy, right?
Yeah.
The noise level, something about it, but you can feel it. Now in competition, in ICE, the past few years, it's been the same, and it's been very, gitu-gitu aja, gitu. Nothing exciting, nothing new. See the same people. It's fine seeing the same people. There's no problem. I like seeing the same people, but you want to be able to see that your industry is thriving. Yeah, maksudnya there's excitement, right? Gitu. While nowadays, menurut gue it's been stagnant for the past few years, and that can be a problem. Gitu. I'm not saying yes, let's have more competitors. That's always a good thing in my opinion. Karena more competitors makes us better. Makes us have to survive better, to innovate better. Right? But if we have less and less, ya kita makin lama makin complacent. Maksudnya kayak udahlah gitu ya kan, there's nobody behind me. Gitu. So I don't know. We are at a crossroads, and COVID is showing true colors too.
Kita kan lagi banyak waktu, perlulah kita melakukan itu, ya nggak sih?
Why not?
Iya kan?
I mean, if we can get everybody on the same page, ya menurut gua.
Kalau kemarin kan belum terlalu dalam, cuman akhirnya di dalam grup itu kan udah terlalu banyak orang, ya nggak sih?
Oh iya.
Ya maksud
pasti.
gue kan sebenarnya pada awalnya di grup itu kan niatnya kan sebenarnya kedepannya gitu kan, yang tadi lo omongin gitu. Mungkin we can start with small.
Dikit-dikit terus
pelan-pelan udah mulai ini ada lagi.
Ya menurut gua I think interesting idea.
Asosiasi akan segitunya berpengaruh. Ketika misalkan kita kan sebenarnya melakukan itu kan, tapi dalam inner circle yang kayak kenal-kenal aja. Gue pun sering kayak berapa kali nanya Yoshi hal-hal yang gue kan nggak ngerti bisnis sama sekali gitu. Gue ngeraba aja, gue tiba nanya Omar, gue tiba-tiba tanya Tio gitu. Menurut lo ketika memang itu dilakukan secara formal in asosiasi gitu, menurut lo itu works?
I don't know.
Keharapan lo yang tadi?
I hope so. At the end of the day, gue merasa semua orang prinsipalnya pasti agak beda ya. Cuman kalau kita bisa agree, at least the founding members, prinsip kita itu apa dari limit sama boundaries dan lain-lainnya. Ya mungkin kita bisa lihat dari spirit itu. Gitu. Jangan lebih, jangan kurang, ya kan? Kalau kita bisa agree di itu, ya kita lihat di itu aja gitu. Kayak istilahnya kayak Pancasila gitu, ya. Ya udah, that is the founding father punya rule. Maybe over time kita bisa change through vote and democracy or whatever, that's fine. Ya, tapi kita ada mission and vision lah istilahnya. Gitu. The best thing that I like is misalnya, we agree on a few industry standard things yang we want to happen. Not everybody's gonna follow. Cuman at least if most of the people follow, then we can take a commanding voice in terms of, let's say, the rights of the staff or the pay grade. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, let's agree and decide together that a starting barista position with no experience, pay grade range-nya di segini sampai segini. You know what I mean? Jadi everybody itu has a level playing field more or less. Dan everybody itu ada say. Whether people follow it or not sih, it's up to them lah, ya kan. Tapi at least kita ada develop a certain standard yang menurut kita makes sense as a business. Gitu. Secara financials, kita bisa agree to become a successful coffee shop. Kita harus ada, misalnya sales kita, omset kita berapa persen, dari berapa persen salary berapa, rental berapa, ini berapa gitu. Ya, every coffee shop pasti akan vary kan. Cuman at least kita bisa kasih guideline. Jadi semua owners juga oh okay, if I'm doing better than that, great. If I'm not doing better at that, then why? Why it's not good? You know, kadang-kadang sometimes we just need a friend to talk to in terms of, hey, you know, how's your business going, right? Hey, are you doing this like this? Like just like COVID kan, pasti I get calls left and right like, hey, lu bayar nggak? Oh, lu ini nggak? Lu ini nggak? Ya kan gitu. At least kita ada some sort of transparency tanpa harus kayak kasih contoh yang real. Tapi itu kan bisa main presentasi, bisa main SOP kayak itu harus main apa. You know, a lot of people juga kadang-kadang they also don't know kayak lu bikin recipe costing untuk cappuccino, berapa orang pernah nanya you that kan gitu. And menurut gue ya sebenarnya itu harusnya secara universal kurang lebih udah tahu gitu. Itu ada business modelnya. Cuman karena orang kita mungkin kita agak siapa lu ya, lu siapa ya kan, orang kan lu malas share ya kan. Padahal that's actually quite general knowledge. And menurut gue ya everybody can maybe do it a little bit different, but it depends. Ya lu harapan lu mau apa, you know what I mean? And then paling gampang is okay, lu mau menurut ya banyak orang yang mau mulai bisnis atau emang udah bisnis kayak kira-kira berapa cups of coffee sih sehari yang gua harus jual untuk you know untuk at least break even atau make a little bit of money
buat
kan?
Bikin forecast sebelum ini kan.
Ya kan?
Ya banyak sih yang nggak ngelakuin itu.
And at the end of the day, you know, my goal is bukan my goal sih, cuman I think this type of thing is much more effective and much more honest than hiring a coffee consultant. I fucking hate coffee consultants.
Sebenarnya gue mau nanya itu juga. Iya, bener. Karena sebenarnya sih fine sih menurut gue Ton. Karena kayak di kitchen gitu kan sebenarnya ada juga kan. Menurut gue yang bikin itu jadi jelek coffee consultant ya. Karena banyak yang versi gadungan sih menurut gue. Iya kan? Maksudnya kadang ada yang datang cuman dari dia come up, dia pernah kerja di cafe A doang, dia di barista, terus habis itu dia nggak tahu apa sih exactly coffee consultant. Dia cuman kayak coffee consultant ya gue bantuin nge-set bar, beli mesin dan sebagainya ya, karena gue ikutin aja kafe yang sebelumnya. Padahal kan kalau kita hitung lo seatnya berapa, lo gunainnya sekian grup karena lo udah hitung seatingnya, lo udah hitung forecast tadi, udah bikin gitu kan perencanaan bisnis model. Ya mereka nggak ngelakuin itu, mereka cuman kayak ya udah lo sediain meja segini, panjangnya segini. Kalau menurut gue saat ini coffee consultant lebih arahnya kayak situ sih. Bahkan mereka nggak mikirin kayak workflow. Iya kan? Sedangkan kan sebenarnya itu sangat diperlukan gitu. Ketika seat lo di sini, workflow-nya begini, menu lo segini, berarti kayak gini ya nggak sih? Ya. Tapi mereka akhirnya tidak melakukan itu karena mereka nggak ngerti apa itu sebenarnya. Ya menurut buat lo sih emang ya gue ngerti, and your example sih menurut gue ya coffee consultant yang cemeng-cemeng. Gitu. Tapi yang heavyweight, as you know, it is much bigger than that, right? Like yang gue nggak suka tuh lu dikasih harapan palsu. Karena menurut gue itu thin line between the truth and reality and lying and telling the truth. I don't like that. Because you know what I hate the most is when people come to my cafe and say, wow, rame ya, you must be making a lot of money. Bisa aja dia datang di dalam waktu yang memang cafe lagi rame. Ya kan? Karena as we know, cafe itu nggak pernah setiap hari itu selalu rame, jarang. Pasti ada waktunya. Pasti ada waktunya. Jadi gue paling hate strong word but I hate it. Gue paling benci kalau orang bilang kayak they think that I'm making a lot of money just because my cafe looks busy. It can be farther than the truth. You don't know the realities of this business unless you've actually walked through it. You might just be passing by 1 second and like, oh hey, you know. But then if you pass by maybe 20 minutes later, it might be empty. You don't know anything unless you've seen the real books. And that's itu harapan yang gue suka, because there's been more than one instance when I've seen a coffee consultant come with a client to my cafe. And gue tahu tuh pasti cuma panas-panasin doang. Enggak, tapi juga ada sih Ton yang BM juga tiba-tiba tanpa dipanasin.
Iya, tapi maksud gue tuh kayak ya you lihat itu kayak apa ya? Kayak harimau lihat mangsa, ngerti nggak? Kayak wah, gue tinggal makan nih, gampang. That's not good for the industry in my opinion. Karena basically you're giving false hope and you're setting somebody for failure. Ya kan? At the end of the day juga, gimana nih gue mau let's say I want to open a cafe, a new business owner. Gue mau hire barista, kan gue nggak bisa barista gitu. Oh ya, you can either go barista school, or lu tinggal hijack aja dari situ. Menurut lu mereka hijack dari mana? At the end of the day, it's gonna be from people like you and me.
Iya sih.
Right? And at the end of the day, for no fucking reason, for somebody else's business, they come into my business. Right? That's where every single decision somebody in this industry makes, the pasti ada some sort of effect to somebody, the whole industry, or somebody else in the industry. You see?
Yeah.
Like, people who've been in this industry for a long time, or a relatively long time, you, me, Mira, and whatnot, we're all dogs, right? In other words, we've been beat left and right. We've had to scrap for our business. We've had to fight and claw, scratch, grind. We're used to it, right? We've been in the high place and the low place. We've different circumstances, but we all scratch and claw. None of us have had it easy. Trust me when I say this, because I'm telling you the truth. None of us had it easy, right? As business owners.
Yeah.
I don't know about celebrity baristas, right? But we haven't had it easy, right? And we don't get much of the glory or attention. It's not like we care anyway, to be honest, right? Tapi menurut gue, the more coffee owners that we have in this business that are a bit halu about the business, ya kan? The more it makes our lives, like our industry and our lives, more miserable.
Iya sih.
Right? I mean, how many other coffee business owners have you talked to that have very interesting or weird thoughts about their business?
Iya,
Ya kan? Banyak kan? The people who are real, like you see the suffering in their face. You see it.
Iya.
You see it. It is quite obvious because it's not an easy industry. It is painful. Everybody, fucking McDonald's sells coffee. It's not easy. There's pain that comes with loving this industry and this product, and it's not even just us. It's felt around the world. Yeah, every coffee company, especially coffee company, is feeling this. It's not just us.
Iya.
Jadi, I don't like it where somebody will oversell what we do as something as beautiful and painless and coffee geek, Instagram, blah blah bullshit. Right? It's just, I don't like it. I just think that line, once that happens, is being crossed in a way where it's like, if I can give a very big bait, I can get a very big fish.
Yeah.
And it's that easy, right? And people make a living doing that, right? And that, I don't like that. That, for me, it's just, if you want to fight this war, right? Okay, fight this war, but for the right reasons, right? Come in. You can fight with me or against me in this war, but do it for the right reasons, right? Don't do it because somebody told you that's gonna be peaches and cream. It's not. It really isn't. It really isn't.
Ya karena Indian akhirnya jadi ngejatuhin industri sendiri kayak yang sekarang lah.
Correct.
Ya kan, kayak mereka ngelihat kayak gampang deh jual es kopi susu doang gitu. Ya padahal sekarang bahkan lu mau jual es kopi susunya aja itu udah susah gitu kan. Banyak apa ya? Banyak tokoh-tokoh yang nggak mempertimbangkan itu. Terus habis itu kayak berapa bulan tutup. Gue pernah ngobrol sama orang aplikasi yang makanan-makanan.
Oh, oke.
Gue sebut namanya. Yang warna merah.
Oke.
Dia bilang waktu itu ada dari gue lupa ya. Let's say dari 1.000 coffee shop di Jakarta yang buka, itu 700-nya tutup.
That's a
dalam waktu 6 bulan apa 6 bulan secepat itu gitu ya, karena mereka nggak punya pertimbangan. Dan benar juga sih mungkin karena mereka nggak tahu siapa yang harus mereka tanya. Ya kan, kalau misalkan mungkin circle yang mungkin udah tahu kopi, udah suka nongkrong di coffee shop, mereka udah pernah nanya. Tapi kan kalau yang belum tahu, apalagi di daerah gitu, mereka nggak tahu harus berkonsultasi ke siapa.
Iya.
Ya.
Karena gue ngerasain sendiri waktu kita bener-bener awal-awal buka, waktu awal Pandava kita bener-bener kayak shooting in the dark, tau gak? Tembak di no light. Iya, kayak kita bener-bener emang trial and error sendiri, otodidak gitu. Makanya kita bikin a lot of mistakes. And gue tuh nggak pernah malu untuk bilang we fucked up gitu. Atau kita bener-bener bikin banyak error dan miscalculation, dan harapan kita emang ya kita anggap aja ya udah itu kita belajar. We learn from our mistakes.
Bahkan kayak gue pun punya cost untuk kayak ya ini cost buat lo gagal tapi ini belajar, ya kan? Lo
sekolah lah, kan intinya kayak gitu. Tapi lu bayangin aja kalau kayak misalnya kalau gue bayangin in that time ya, gue bikin Pandava ya, dan gue hire consultant, ya kan, dan resultnya itu sama gitu. Kayak gue instead of taking that experience as a learning experience, I'm just gonna blame that guy. And lu jadi bitter, lu jadi pahit, karena lu merasa oh ini bukan salah gue, itu salahnya orang yang emang menjual konsep atau ide ini atau suruh gue kayak gini oke gitu. Jadi secara sendiri mental gue tuh makin rapuh, weak. Kalau gue do it by myself and I fucked up by myself, itu buat gue membangun. Tapi kalau orang lain yang I put my trust di orang lain and ya emang nggak work out, ya gue bisa segampang kayak oh itu salah dia gitu. I failed because of this person, not because of myself. Jadi accountability-nya tuh jadi nggak ada. Gue did the right things kok, gue bayar gede buat konsultan ini, dia terkenal gitu ya kan. Gue masa kayak gue yang salah ya kan, orang dia udah kasih tau gue ini. You see what I mean? Yeah. I'd rather people fucking do it autodidact and fail themselves rather than you hire somebody and you think, and that person is not doing it, like not giving you the right advice or the proper advice or reality advice, and you fuck up. No, please.
Terus.
Ya, karena I'm sure you experience the same things. You, Randy, and Aga ya, you pasti juga banyak things learning from your first coffee shop, ya kan? Pasti banyak gitu, right? And you make a lot of mistakes, you make, a lot of these instances. Ya, emang this is part of your growth, ya kan? Yeah, it sucks, it's painful, it's bitter, but you learn together and you learn because you did it yourself. And those things, it makes you stronger, actually. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you look back and you're like, I'm actually kind of glad that happened. Because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's why you see a lot of young people today, it's so easy for them to fail, to give up.
Iya. Secara mental ya. Mereka bisa ngelakuin instan soalnya.
Yeah. And it's easy for them to always blame something else, right? If you think, like you said, instant culture, right? You see everything on Instagram. It's only a certain side or story that who you are following itu yang mau show. There's a lot of other instances realities yang sebenarnya mereka nggak share. Jadi it's a warped reality, right? Like that's not reality, man. That's not the real life. That's not real world. Like that's just like a movie. And it's like you're watching a fairy tale every single day. Your life 14 hours, 8 hours a day. It's it's like if it's a personal account, like yours or mine, that we don't do it for money or endorsement or whatever it is, and we film like all the good and bad parts of our life. Yeah, fine, you know what I mean? But if it's people who emang are there for a specific business or personal gain atau apa, then yeah, obviously, you have to be aware. Lo harus aware that this person, that's not their real life gitu. At least I don't think so ya gitu. Who knows? But all of these things, yeah, that's what makes our current, this generation that's currently working with us or for us too. Yeah, their mental resilience too is quite low. Nggak tahan banting.
Bener. Ya itu kan harapan lo, kita gitu di industri ini kan. Tapi kayak lo tuh punya nggak sih sesuatu yang belum tercapai di hidup lo, dan apa yang lo pengen? Personal ya, bukan kopi, bukan di industri kopi gitu.
Well, I mean, luckily, happily married, so that's good, right? It's nice, right? Being married is nice. I like being married. And then hopefully kid on the way, which is great. But for me, to be satisfied, right? Gue tuh selalu dari dulu, gue deket sama nyokap, very close, and nyokap gue tipe orang yang sangat ambisius, very business driven, very fierce, right? Bokap gue yang lebih nyantai, ya kan. Jadi gue tuh selalu didorong sama nyokap dari dulu, karena nyokap juga she is almost like a self-made woman. Dia nggak pernah kuliah, dan and she grew up poor because bokapnya dia, opa gue dulu cerai, started another family. Jadi it was my oma, nyokap gua paling tua, terus ada 2 tante gua lagi. Jadi semua cewek, 3 cewek. Nyokap paling gede. Jadi nyokap gua at that time was only like 12 or 13 or something, still young. And oma gua harus fend for herself and her 3 kids. Jadi emang they grew very, very plain. Some days didn't have enough to eat katanya. I don't know the whole story like in great detail, but this is what my mom would tell me. Jadi my mom came from a lot of struggle. Dia pun started her own business juga out of struggle, right? And only until LV came and whatnot, and the success of LV, she was able to do better in life. But also because of a lot of her effort and her pain in working for what she wanted. Jadi dari dulu emang nyokap gue tuh nggak pernah mau gue grow up as a spoiled brat type of person gitu. Not saying that she didn't provide for me, tapi kayak ya secukupnya aja gitu, nggak sampai rich kids of Beverly Hills type of thing, you know what I mean? Jadi dia tipe orang yang emang agak keras gitu, dan dia nggak mau dia mau see gue as somebody yang bisa successful in life. Obviously in business because that's what she was successful in. Nah, jadi dari sana ya intinya tuh cita-cita dia ya jadi cita-cita gua lah gitu. In a way dia juga nggak pernah specify lu harus sukses di industri apa or whatever gitu. Dia cuma bilang ya harapan mami tuh you bisa jadi successful gitu. And karena nyokap gua ambitious and always hungry for success, ya dia nggak pernah kasih definisi juga. Jadi I'm almost never satisfied with what I've done. And the only thing that I feel that gue bisa merasa satisfied is kayak very plain and simple, your parents punya approval. Ya kan? Kayak gue nggak pernah denger nyokap gue kayak I'm proud of you. Ngerti nggak? Ya, karena emang dia tipe orang yang kayak she'll never say that in front of my face. Karena menurut dia tuh potensi gue tuh selalu lebih besar. Jadi ya itu selalu something yang gue selalu searching for. And unfortunately also because my mom passed away suddenly, I don't think I'll ever get it. You understand? Jadi I'm driven by my own need, my own desire to make my parents proud, but the parents that I'm looking for approval from, I will not find in this lifetime anymore. Maybe in another, right? So that's basically what drives me and what gets me out of bed every day. She left me with much more than I could ever need, but I mean, that's great, it's nice, I'm happy for it, I'm very thankful, grateful, but it's not my driving force, you know, like it's not my sole desire, you know, like the inside, you know, like we're not talking about materialistic or bank accounts or deposito or whatever, or property, you know, we're talking about like this, you know, like what makes you satisfied inside of your soul. That's a type of thing, satisfaction that you can't buy, right? You have to pay for it with your time and your effort and your work. That's the motivation that I have to be successful in whatever thing that I do, and I've picked this industry as what I want to be successful in, and that's what drives me. And I don't know. Maksudnya, I will never know now because. You know, they're not with us anymore, right? But we can only hope, and we can only maybe picture, right? But and I'm sure you know this, but once you've lost a parent, especially one that you're very close with, there's something that is taken away from you that you will never ever get back again. And once you've gotten past the mourning phase, kayak sedih dan lain-lainnya, tapi tetap aja there's something that is always gone and lost that you will never find again, and nothing will ever replace it, ya kan? But you know, at the end of the day, you know, ever since you're a baby, like learning how to walk, you've always wanted your parents' approval. Ya kan? Karena when you were a baby, kayak lu mulai jalan dikit atau lu senyum aja mereka udah senyum. So there's that bond, human bond at the very beginning that you want to satisfy your parents, because whatever sacrifices and things that they made for you, you want to return it. That is human connection, give and take. So my ultimate level of that is, you know, being able to reciprocate, because so much has been given to me, and I'm lucky. But I don't necessarily feel that I deserve it. I don't feel that just because I'm somebody's son means that I deserve all these things. Like, who am I? Ya kan, gitu. I'm just lucky. But in my appreciation towards this luck, ya gue harus bisa show her that gue juga bisa loh, gitu. Like, gue juga bisa sehebat mami or even better than you. Karena for me that is hopefully one day, whenever that is that I meet her again, kayak gue bisa hopefully hear that she'll say she's proud of me. You know, it's weird.
Sedih tuh, gue juga jadi sedih deh.
But I think you know what I mean.
Kita ganti topik. Padahal nextnya sedih lagi. Gue jadi kayak, gue baru nanya nextnya titik terendah di hidup lo apa nih?
Udah tahu kan?
Iya. Sekarang gue juga ngerasain sih.
I know.
Waktu itu pas lo udah buka juga ya, lo udah buka ya?
Udah
ya kan. Kalau gue waktu itu pas gue kayak lagi pengennya merasakan kayak, lihat nih gue buka sesuatu, kayak approval dari itu. Gue justru di momen itu gitu. Jadi kayak gue tahu lah.
Gue pas at that time juga pas sebelum gue mau buka Saint Ali sih. It just happened. So I mean, Saint Ali wasn't something like, hey look, right, for me, but it was in a point in my life that it changed a lot of things for me. And after that happened, I was working nonstop for years because I needed a distraction, and I invested myself even further and deeper, which is good in a way but bad in a way. So in a way where, you know, sometimes kayak lu nggak bisa dapat closure, kayak lu nggak bisa kayak, you know, you can only talk about this thing to somebody who's experienced the same thing. If you talk about this issue to somebody yang belum pernah lost a parent, especially at a young age, and suddenly they won't understand. You can't.
Yeah.
Even if I was to talk to somebody who recently lost their parent, I have staff recently like that. I can't talk to them too. I'm just saying, I'm here for you. I know what you're going through, and there's no words that you can explain that will make you feel better.
Yeah.
I hate it when people are like, especially when my mom passed away, tabah ya, blah blah blah. You know, I'm like, dude, that there's nothing for me. I mean, you know, like, you know, people say, oh, deepest condolences, yeah. What happened? How did she die? You know, I hate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate that. I'm like, oh, is it contagious or whatever? It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, you know, I'm mourning, right? You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, ask somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, sometimes you just want to be left alone.
Benar.
You need to process. Processing that loss is nggak bisa cepat dan butuh waktu yang lama, dan emang, like I said, you will never get over it. Ya kan? It's just one day you have to sort of make peace with it. And sometimes that's a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We don't know. Yeah.
Jadi melo Tot.
But it is,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like talking to somebody who went
Yeah,
through
yeah.
a similar experience. This is how I talk to people who have the same experience. Because you understand without having to say words. It's just a bond that we share, and people like us that have lost a parent, I would say at still a young age, and maybe quickly or suddenly, tragically. Yeah, it's a bond that we share that nobody, only you and I only people who've gone through it can understand it. And it triggers something inside of us. Yeah, let's not pretend it doesn't either. We've changed because of it in different ways that we cannot explain. And that's why for me, itu kayak, after that happened, like, my appreciation for time has changed. Right? Like where I spend my time, who I spend my time with, itu has changed a lot. And that's why gue bener-bener harus start to think about the people who are spending time with me, right? Who are giving me their time. I find that that's more important now daripada dulu where it's more like, oh, lu mau gaji berapa gitu, or gue harus gaji berapa gitu. I don't really look at that anymore. Like, yes, it's important, but my number one thing now is loyalty gitu. Like, if people show me loyalty, like, how do I show loyalty back? Because it's time that's being an issue rather than a transaction. Transaction is easy. If you're just here for the money, as long as you work, ya udahlah, okay, and I think it's a fair pay, we fair pay, ya udah gitu. But I don't have an emotional connection or loyalty to you gitu. Yeah, you want to quit one day, okay, bye gitu. Thanks, see ya. Right?
Yeah.
It's not, ya udah, I wish you well, no hard feelings. But it's people who you know that bener-bener will spend their time and commit themselves to you, and you can tell. You know, you can tell. Then those are the people that you need to be able to reciprocate your time with as well. That's where I find there's a big responsibility. That's what bothers me nowadays. It's like, how do I figure out with these people, how, you know, who've given a lot of their time for me, how do I make sure that at least mereka punya standard of living tuh okay lah gitu ya ke depannya. I feel like if that I don't solve that tuh, gue nggak bisa live with myself in the next few years or next 10 years. Kayak apa ya, gue merasa kayak nggak enak aja kayak you know what I mean, because it's more than transaction now kan. People been with you for a long time ya kan, kayak yang you already know some of your staff tuh udah kayak family, right? Like you can't, it's not like that.
Tapi kan ada somehow ada yang nggak bisa lu kontrol juga toh.
Of course.
Maksud gue kadang kalau lu ngelihat anak-anak sekarang, bahkan nggak usah deh ngomongin rumah,
Yes.
mereka nggak biasa saving,
Yes.
ya kan? Karena gaya hidupnya. Karena gue
Iya,
punya,
iya, iya.
lu tau nggak? Gue punya barista. Beberapa kali gue dapet kasus, gue tahu banget gaji dia berapa, tapi
Tahu.
gue tahu banget gaya hidupnya.
Gue juga tahu. Gue ada juga.
Yang lu tahu gak sih, kayak bahkan dia lebih sering ke bar
Iya, iya.
daripada gue.
Betul.
Itu pertama. Kedua, lu tahu apa yang terjadi? Dia terlilit hutang, kayak kayak rentenir online sekarang.
Tahu.
Lu tau kan yang
loan kan, 1 juta,
Iya.
2 juta. Tahu.
Dan dikejar-kejar sama yang kayak gitu.
Iya.
Diteleponnya ke kantor
Iya, pasti
sampai
dicari.
masih dia keluar. Dan itu nggak satu orang. Kayak gitu, gue bilang gila ya, gue aja nih sekarang lagi healing gitu. Gue nggak
Iya,
kartu
iya,
kredit
iya.
gue nggak ada semua.
Iya.
Gue udah nggak
Maksudnya
mau.
lu udah harus tahu, lu harus
Iya,
lu
gue
harus lebih tight lah.
Iya, gue nggak
gitu.
boleh lah kartu kredit itu tuh menurut gue ya, karena
Iya.
gue orang impulsif banget kayak buat
Oke.
belanja dan sebagainya. Jadi kayak gue nggak boleh pakai
Iya,
ini
iya,
gitu.
iya.
Jadi kayak gue aja udah menyingkirkan itu.
Iya, iya, iya.
Terus kayak gue agak amazed gitu kayak sekarang tuh mereka nggak mikir gitu kayak misalkan gajinya mereka 3 juta.
Iya.
Tapi abis itu 3 juta udah dihabisin, mereka utang lagi 3 juta kan kayak udah nggak mungkin ya nggak sih? Ya dong, lu mau ya cuman gali lubang tutup lubang dan itu kan ada bunganya. Nah
Bunga,
itu
of
hal-hal yang
course.
menurut gue ya, iya kita perlu memikirkan tapi kadang gimana ya? Kadang gaya hidupnya mereka pun nggak bisa kita kontrol.
Of
Bener
course. Yes, 100%. I have staff like that too. I do. Gue sampai juga with these staff tuh gue bener-bener sit down with them. I'm like, hey, yeah. And because a lot of time kan mereka bilang, oh nggak cukup.
Ya,
Terus gue bilang, oke, cuman lu baru beli sepeda. Like, ngapain lu beli sepeda baru gitu? You don't even have enough money to pay for your, whatever it is, and you buy something else, and you're telling me you're not making enough, right? Well, that's because you're not saving enough, or you're spending, or gaya hidup lu tuh lebih daripada your gaji gitu, right? And this is not just lower level lah, every level juga ada sih, ngerti nggak lo? Mau orang yang kerja di bank pun, ya mereka gajinya puluhan juta, ya mereka punya gaya hidup mereka bisa assume kayak dia punya gaya hidup seharusnya 100-an juta, ya kan? Ya belum tentu lu gajinya puluhan juta lu bisa afford a Ferrari juga atau even Mercy gitu juga belum tentu, cicilan tiap bulan mau berapa tahun juga nggak make sense gitu. Yeah, I don't know man, those people scare me. Yeah, they scare me. Tapi emang you're right, so these type of things juga sebenarnya it's good to have this type of knowledge things yang misalnya each business owner at least bisa guide lah ke mereka punya staff. Ya kan, kayak tolong ya untuk masa depan lo, terserah lo mau ikutin atau enggak, cuman ini guideline dari asosiasi or whatever, this is how much you should save up as a percentage of your salary, how much should be going in this, how much should be going in that, at least year this sampai this, year sampai this, at least ya mereka hopefully lebih bisa manage their life. But I completely understand you, completely, and you're right, we can't control it at the end of the day. It's their life, ya kan, they have to learn these lessons. Tapi you're right, can't say ya.
itu boleh
have
dicoba
some
juga
of
sih
that.
itu. Ya kalau gue belum pernah melakukan, maksudnya melakukan kayak kasih mereka perencanaan, standarisasi perencanaan kalau gaji lo segini. Karena kan sekarang kalau ngomongin gaji gue nggak cukup kan sebenarnya tuh relatif nggak sih, ya kan? Tergantung lo ada di posisi mana nih dalam gaya hidup lo gitu kan. Karena toh orang yang 1 juta pun sebulan bisa aja kok gitu.
Yep.
Ya kan?
Completely, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously our problem when our staff are so young.
Yeah.
First jobbers, never really had any commitment before, right? But that's the young people these days that unfortunately are people who work in our industry. That's why I tell you most of the time, I feel like gue kayak dosen.
Yeah.
Karena gue harus teach them a lot of these basic things. I'm sure you do too, ya kan gitu.
Yeah.
But it's up to us, kayak kita bener mau ajarin lo bodo amat, ya kan gitu. It's different. Cuman gue merasa kayak most of the time just trying to teach them common knowledge, ya kan. Dan menurut gue shouldn't this be automatic, right? But apparently it's not. And it's up to us, kita mau sejauh apa sih gitu ya untuk look after our staff and the future of our industry. Like how do we get there? Because if we don't develop our staff, like I said juga at the end of the day juga kita juga as a coffee owners kita nggak maju mundur.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Kayaknya udah 3 jam ya?
Almost
Serius?
hour and 52.
I told you. This is barely scratching the surface.
Seru, karena gue gak pernah ngobrol sama lu kayak gini kan. Kita ketemu kalau di event-event doang. Oke, last question. Kalau semisalnya lo tuh nggak di kopi, lo kemana? Harus ada.
Kalau nggak di kopi ya.
Berat banget.
Berat sih. Gue sih dari
Karena dari tadi lo ngomong kan kopi.
Iya,
Terus
gua
cinta itu lo dengan kopi.
Iya, unfortunately. Gue sih dari dulu suka sports sih, team sports. Jadi mungkin kalau my career path different, either gue mau try in terms of become an athlete, yeah, maybe zaman dulu. I was really crazy about bulu tangkis dulu.
Oh iya.
Really into it.
Okay.
Even until now I still play. And then, or not kayak some sort of sports related business, team sports. I love team sports. I don't know why. All sorts, from. I don't play all team sports, but I love the spirit of team sports. I like teamwork. I like strategy. All of those things I enjoy very much. But in terms of intinya kayak bener-bener di bisnis apa di dalam bidang itu sih gue I don't know yet. I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
But I wish there would be something I would do. Or like one of those things kayak lu kalau dari kecil tanya kayak apa tuh lu kalau kita dewasa mau jadi apa gitu. Gue sih dari dulu ya gue dokter anak tapi.
Udah fuckboy ya dari dulu.
Lu?
Kok nanya balik?
Iya kenapa nggak boleh?
Sama dong.
Gue ya.
I'm sure dari awal you coffee wasn't your number one choice, right?
Teater sih.
Cool. Yeah, nice.
Teater.
Nice.
Oke, thank you Tom.
Appreciate
Sudah
it.
meluangkan waktunya.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Kapan lagi coba ngobrol sama ini sama lo ya?
Next time, no problem. Anytime.
Oke, thank you banget semuanya.
Thank you.
Sampai ketemu lagi di KFC selanjutnya. Bye.
Almost 3 hours.